Very good afternoon to everyone and welcome, of course. It's been a couple of very interesting sessions. I heard one of the first sessions about seaweed, and it was very interesting and promising. And I'm really happy to be having this conversation with Mr. Shaju today morning. To get right into the, I will dive into the conversation. I will start with a little bit of context building, and I'm going to ask some questions to Sir. India's rural transformation cannot be told without the cooperatives. Gujarat, of course, is credited as the birthplace of cooperative movement in India, and it is only apt that this summit, this conference, this convention, mulling about the future of the cooperative sector, integrating technology into the cooperative sector, should be held in Gujarat. So that's thank you, NABARD, for having this here. Um, India now has over 8.5 lakh cooperative societies, perhaps more, with close to 30 crore members, which means 1 in every 4 Indians is a member of a cooperative society. That is absolutely phenomenal. I think it is as a demography, as a constitution, it is the most powerful constitution. So it is at this moment, I feel cooperative sector are gaining significance, but underestimated. Its value is still being underestimated. Its potential is still being explored. As new policies, digital platforms, and value chain partnerships emerge, the question is no longer whether cooperatives matter, of course, but how they can evolve into competitive, innovation-led enterprises that create quality jobs, empower rural women and communities, enable youth to stay rooted in villages, the rural economy, and that the ownership of resources stays within the community. That is one of the key achievements of NABARD and the cooperative sector that we see. In this conversation on the building cooperative advantage, building sustainable rural economies, we'll explore what it will take to move from just successful schemes on paper and how translated through technology and benefit real people, real communities on the ground. So, Shaju sir, we'll begin. For this August audience, doesn't need to be told what is the significance of the rural economy and the cooperative sector, but just to build context, can you please tell us why are cooperatives even today, in a time when the world is turning into a global village, where there is so much information, so much access to rural youth, which was not there earlier, but it's there, yet the cooperative sector is gaining significance. Can you please tell us why does NABARD, its activities, and the cooperative sector matter today?
Yeah, it's good that this we are talking about cooperatives in this Earth Summit, where sustainability is writ across whatever we are doing here, and then if you want sustainable growth, that too a country like India with diversity, and every part of India is in a different stage of growth. Actually, I can tell that because even if you can see sub-Saharan Africa within India, where the people are impoverished, and then the Western whatever scale of growth they have achieved. A lot of Indian geographies have that. So to even out the different levels of development within India, cooperatives are very central because of their very nature. In fact, the cooperatives in India came as a response to crisis. When famines happened during the British India, then the solution didn't come from outside. Solution came from within the society. People started aggregating together as cooperatives or self-help type of thing, which got formalized in 1904 as the Cooperative Societies Act, and which actually accentuated the development of cooperatives within India. But it was a worldwide phenomenon. Wherever, in whichever economies you see, for sustainable growth, cooperatives, that is near the neighborhoods come together for finding solutions. You told about that India 1 in 4 is a cooperative member, but then that is not sufficient enough. If you compare the memberships across the country, even the US, you tell about credit unions. Credit unions are necessarily cooperatives. So they are the largest in terms of banking. Mostly, as the word it denote, it is a credit union. They came together for dispensing credit because they gather the household resources or some from resources from outside and then give loans within them. And that exactly is the nature, because any activity, any economic activity needs loan or credit, which can be sourced from those who have surplus money or borrowed from outside. In that context, if you see, in European countries also, if you see the banking sector in those countries, they are predominated by cooperative banking. Whereas in India, it's not so. So you told about 8.5 lakh cooperatives, of which around 2 lakh can be called as credit cooperatives, but then their share in the total credit is less, and it is diminishing as well, which is worrying, because in a rural area, if a private entity comes in and try to do some business activity, whatever welfare is created out of those activities will be taken out as profits. Whereas if it is as a group of their own people coming together, pooling resources and helping them, helping one another, then whatever profits created out of that will be recycled or distributed, recycled for further business activity or distributed as dividends among those. And that very nature will denote that it's a sustainable activity, and then it will find its own equilibrium. And every time that virtuous cycle happens, it will go to a higher orbit of growth, and which will push those part of the country with higher growth and higher incomes. We are talking from Gujarat. You mentioned about Gujarat as a state which actually shown the white revolution, which was driven by cooperatives. I am coming from Kerala, where it's another type of cooperative, that is credit cooperatives, are very active, which in data also it is not shown, but then from Kerala, coming from Kerala, I can tell that in those part of the country, it is most of credit activities happening, but in Gujarat, it is business activity which is happening. So there, it is a money lending, which by definition may not improve welfare, but here with sectors are growing at different pace. Equity in growth is one important concern of the government of India, and realization of that concern itself, the solution of that is in cooperative, and that is why of late NABARD is also rather pushed into those activities related to cooperatives. NABARD as an institution, by Banking Regulation Act, we are the supervisors of the banking cooperatives, but then we were not much involved in other types of cooperation. Of course, in bits and pieces we were getting involved. But now at the national level, as a concerted action, we have decided that we will work with the rural cooperatives in a large way for sustainability. And whatever, see, our motto is credit-led development, credit-led rural development. But then that credit alone will not matter. Will matter once the other capacities are developed. So we are now working through cooperatives for this.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, you partly answered my next question as well, as to how is NABARD strengthening PACS, the primary societies at the grassroots, and what are the kind of challenges NABARD is facing, especially because I've done some stories, so I noticed that you're integrating technology into the activities that you're doing, technology for users in their day-to-day life, as well as at implementation level, at an institutional level. So how, one, you're doing it, and two, what are the kind of challenges you are facing in integrating it at the grassroots? Because the capacity of women, people at the grassroots is a challenge. So how are you overcoming that?
Okay. You mentioned about challenges in cooperatives. In fact, those very challenges, the realization of these challenges happened, actually, that prompted at the national level earlier. I'm telling about around 10 years back, because cooperation by subject is a state subject. It's not in the central list as well. So states can devise their own policy, and that led to different states having different levels of activities. Some states took up very seriously about that, and then half-hearted attempts were there, and some states didn't bother about these things. And NABARD being involved in many of the rural areas, they realized that working with cooperatives is an important thing. So cooperatives are essentially formal entities which are registered entities at the grassroots level. But then initial activities didn't bear fruit. So we started working with informal entities. That is where the self-help group came into being. Small group of women primarily. They came around 10 to 50, 20 will come together and have an informal group. And then the RBI came out with a regulation that these informal groups can open accounts. So normally, for opening an account, know your customer guidelines are there.
KYC.
But then informal groups doesn't have any, register or certificate that they are a group. So RBI told that okay, for self-help groups under the NABARD model can open accounts, and that opened a lot of opportunities for flowing, or rather opening accounts and then accessing financial whatever wealth they can, because household savings are there. And then later from 2015 onwards, because you mentioned about 8.5 lakh or around that much cooperatives are there. They're working in their own wisdom. They didn't have any unified frameworks and such other things. So we were talking to Government of India regarding computerizing. You told about technology. So technology is one means to bring in transparency in whatever they do. So we started talking to Government of India for computerizing these cooperatives. But then initially there was little hesitance because it's mostly a state subject. Why central government should come in? And then came the new Department of Cooperation. Then first the minister is Honorable Minister for Home and Cooperation, Shri Shah. Yesterday he was here telling about how the discussions evolved regarding the implementation of technology. So one of the first things I did after taking over charge as chairman was that when the discussion happened with the Honorable Minister, he mentioned that this PAX computerization should happen. Now, Government of India will chip in with this money. So it is not that, it is actually Government of India forced us to do this computerization. And they found that NABARD is the entity which can handle at the national level. Because being a state subject at the national level, many of the cooperative entities were not having hold of all the activities, all the gamut of activities which are happening. So then came this scheme of computerization, which is close to around 2,510 crores, of which NABARD chip. This being a grassroots level activity where we are infusing technology into people who are not used to. So even they are not literate. Forget about digital literacy. So that is the first challenge we are trying, we are facing, that people are not equipped to handle it. So that means we need to make it more user friendly in terms of the Indianization of technology need to happen, and then the language of the technology also should be local. Even local dialects also can come in. Local vocabulary needs to come in. So it can't be an English software or a Hindi software. So that is one challenge. And second challenge was that the transparency issue, because every cooperative, because of its very nature, it's a democratic thing. And democracy doesn't necessarily bring in the best of the activities out of a democratic effort. So some sort of a capture can happen. So vested interest will come in. So any entity which is like that, some capture will happen. So as a follow-up of that, there will not be a transparency. So now, infusing transparency will face resistance from them. So that is another challenge which we have, which Government of India also realized this as a challenge, and many of the states, the grassroots level, the office bearers of cooperatives came up in arms that no, we don't need technology. We don't no, people. The technology doesn't understand their activities. So some sort of strange reasons they put. So then we had to overcome the challenge. So with the help of state governments and also with the civil society organizations and all, we are working with them. Then the capacity building happens. So capacity it need to be built. Plus trained manpower is not available. So there come that realization came, and in fact, I also didn't realize the magnitude of that activity. In one of the discussions in the PAX computerization in the early stages, the honorable minister was talking about the computerization and all. Then the straight question from him was that, where will you find trained people? What is the mechanism NABARD has or any other entity has to provide trained manpower for handling this technology? And then he asked the other question that we are now targeting at say around 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs of societies. At least if you see 2 per society is a trained manpower, we need a massive number, at least 8 to 10 lakh number. So who is handling this? That the solution of that came in. No, then he found that no, there need to be a central entity to handle this, and that was the a precursor to establishing the Central Cooperative University in Anand, which he inaugurated some few months back. But then there need to be a lot of regional centers. There need to be certification courses. It's not a degree course which we are looking at. So this, one important thing about all these activities is that it is headed by a person who understands the grassroots level that cooperative. So before any policy or a bureaucrat telling him the issue, he will point out this issue and ask the bureaucrats to find solution, and then he will find the solution also. That's another thing, because it's very very energizing to feel that a lot of ideas comes from himself. And then this training center, which we also have a training center that is Bankers Institute of Rural Development involved in cooperative training. We have a center of excellence there as well. But we deal with credit cooperatives. So now non-credit cooperatives also, because the Honorable Minister's view is that not only credit cooperatives, but activity-based cooperatives should be there. And that is where he targeted at forming 2 lakh more such societies, activity societies, which we called as multi-purpose primary agriculture credit society. So that human resource challenge also need to be overcome. Then, of course, once technology is there, it's only the technology for that ERP-based technology which you are implementing that will generate a lot of data. And data is is actually information.
Absolutely.
Without structured data, when this structure, now we tell about 8.5 lakh societies, but we don't have any unified data. Where it is, what are they doing, what is their contribution to GDP? So now, yesterday, the Honorable Minister also was talking about at least 40% of the rural economy should deal with cooperatives, and the quantification of that should come, and we should now monitor that. And plus, what he told is that we have to now take the number of members. I think it should actually make fourfold. Now, 27% roughly of Indian population is in cooperatives, whereas in other countries it is upwards of 35%. So we need to push our levels to that level first. For that, a membership campaign, and then comes other challenge of reducing the influence of vested interests in these societies. So that is depoliticization. I will not tell that it is a bad word. Politicization is in fact, it is an empowering one. But then the people who manage these societies, their interests should be aligned with the institution's interests. That realigning of that also, that means we need to work with these leaders of the cooperatives. So that itself is a mammoth task, because they themselves have very very opinionated behaviors. They feel that whatever they say is correct. So we have to we have to actually work with them to change the behaviors, or a new set of people need to come in. And that is where women-led, because if you see that around 90% of cooperative members are male. That means 50% of the population we are now, we're not within that. So, but then that 50%, as I said, self-help group is there. There 90% or 95% are women, but they are not into cooperative fold. So now another challenge is that how we can push them into cooperative fold, which we are working in.
Yeah, you're making very concrete efforts and also progress in that direction, because I do know of cooperation among cooperatives, which is completely directed for women, empowering women, making them members, and the money goes into their accounts. So one may obviously always argue that when the money goes into a woman's account, does she actually have autonomy over how to utilize it? Well, it may not be, the answer may not be yes today, but as it goes along over a period of time, that does happen. So that holds true for many other sectors also, and hence cooperative sector also. Please, sir, carry on.
So now here the issues that SHG bank linkage program, which is now scaled up as National Rural Livelihood Mission. Whatever you said as a mission that they are handling their own money, it is happening through the NRLM groups. Here they call it a state rural livelihood mission, but they can reach only to a certain scale. Being informal, that itself will become a negative point when they want to scale up. So that is where we came out with the model of JLG, that is Joint Liability Group. That means 3 or 4. This is just like a partnership company, or 2, 3 people who are interested in some particular activity coming together and setting up that activity. But they also, because of need for capacity building or capacity to handle larger projects, they also are limited by activity. So we need to formalize those self-help group into some sort of registered entity, and which is that the mode of registration which is very optimum. That discussions happened at the policy level. So now there is a realization that at the cluster level, that means at least around 40 to 50 self-help groups can aggregate into women cooperatives. And that endeavor, we are now talking to the Rural Development Department to aggregate these self-help groups into cooperative societies of women, which will be a counterpart of the existing 8.5 lakh cooperatives.
Yes.
Of course, dairy cooperatives have women participation.
Yeah.
Other than dairy cooperatives, not much women participation is there.
That's true.
So we have to bring these self-help groups graduate into. So now there is a if you see that the credit flow to self-help groups, the per capita, the per group loan is now increasing, but it is not compensated, or rather parallelly their economic activity is not sufficient enough to service the interest and also to repay the principal, because they are mostly used for consumption purposes. Of course, at the initial stages of any person, the consumption needs need to be addressed, and beyond that, the economic activity should come in to pay for whatever he or she has taken as loan for consumption thing. But that part, no, it's not happening. Now this is the right stage that the SRLMs should graduate into economic activity. So that is where now we are working with the NRLM to have enterprises out of these SHGs, and mostly in the cooperative sector. So that will be the way forward. So strengthening of the existing cooperatives through technology, transparency, and aggregating them with proper data, governance, and such other things. And then at the national level, we need to have a holistic view rather than states having different directions in cooperative development. Of course, at the national level, we'll give the framework where the states will adopt. That is where we have come out with a lot of common guidelines, including the model bylaws, then the HR policies now in the offing, and then the computerization.
Yeah.
So those things will actually unify the activities whole of the country into a common framework. So it can be understood at the national level, and various departments, line departments, what we call agriculture, fisheries, this dairy department, animal husbandry department. So when we target at the grassroots level, the beneficiaries are the same. So whether there can be an unifying force there, where the cooperatives can come in, and they will talk to various departments at the state level and at the national level. But then the convergence at the grassroots level will happen at the cooperatives. That is the way in which we are now going to strengthen the packs. Technology, of course, is an enabler, which right now, as we speak, we are reaching around crossing 60,000 of the packs now be getting computerized. By computerization, we mean our data is available. So now we have to do the business process re-engineering. That process we are now doing, and also identifying activities which they can take up. The government of India has now come out with a bouquet of activities, a lot of convergence. thanks to the efforts of the Honorable Minister, now various departments of the Government of India is now converging to cooperatives, including the Food Corporation of India, which is now engaging with the primary agriculture credit societies for procurement. And he's ensuring that at least a 10-year, because the procurement needs a lot of initial investments. Right. The investments, it means now there should be a proper amortization way. There's some sort of a plan should be there, which is an assured income flow for these packs. That he's assuring through tie-ups with the Food Corporation of India in terms of setting up godowns. There was a mention about yesterday about world's largest grain storage structure, which is coming up in the cooperatives, distributed grain storage structures, which is coming. So such convergence are happening. So it's not merely technology what we are trying to do. We are engaging with the Government of India and also the state governments, but through convergence, lot of economic activities. Plus, as I said earlier, the capacity building of the people to handle these activities also are happening.
Yeah. As a journalist in India, sir, and in Gujarat to be precise, I have covered cooperatives for the last 20 years. In Gujarat, the Amul movement, the dairy movement has been very significant, and any reporter in Gujarat invariably know much more about the cooperative sector than any other state, even Delhi, if I may say. It is only now in the last 2 to 3 years that I'm seeing a formal and a concentrated movement toward developing and untapping the potential of this industry, of this sector, and of course, hence untapping the potential of the rural economy. And which is why the urbanization and this rapid, massive urbanization has been happening, because the opportunities and potential only existed in urban India. Now, the rural India had no option but to migrate. So that is one of the key achievements, I will say, and it is right now still the beginning. I think we are literally at the proverbial tip of the iceberg. There is a lot more that remains to be done. On that note, sir, today is the day when you are completing 3 years as chairman of NABARD. So, congratulations, yes, of course. And as chairman, what is your personal vision for the future of the cooperative sector or for NABARD?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Yes, today, incidentally, I'm completing 3 years, and tomorrow onwards, the 4th year starts. But then I am fortunate, whatever activities which I am doing, or rather NABARD is doing now, has a strong backing of the Government of India. That way, the realization that rural development should do in a different way, should be done, not in the usual way. And exactly, I should thank Honorable Minister of Cooperation for that, because he comes from the grassroots level. And there is a realization at the Government of India level. Though NABARD was trying to do this since last 10 years, but then when a man who is from the grassroots came to the hem of the affairs, then he realized, he also, because you told that at the national level there is recognition and all. Yeah. It all happened because of that, department headed by a person who is coming from the grassroots. Yeah. And I was fortunate to have him when almost parallelly, the Department of Cooperation came in. And then that coincided with the NABARD's vision also. Plus, whatever additional activities which we are doing, I can say that some sort of ideation also happened. In fact, when I was discussing with both the minister and also the secretary cooperation at that point of time, both were hands-on on cooperatives, because this civil service officers at the field postings and all. He incidentally was from Kerala cadre. So he is coming from a credit cooperative background, and ministry is coming from the business cooperative background. So these two was a perfect blend at the national level to have policy meant for unified policy and a holistic and meaningful policy. And then NABARD came in as an implementation active, with all the wherewithal and experience. So historically, NABARD is the supervisor of the credit cooperative banking in the country. So we understand credit cooperatives better at the national level. No other entity at the national level knows cooperatives better than NABARD. Plus, now the policies which jointly, I can tell you that all the policies, the convergences which are happening at the national level is has evolved as part of joint discussions which are happening between NABARD, the Cooperation Department, and the Minister himself getting involved on almost on a fortnightly basis. Plus, the issue is that once the policy and a procedure has been given, monitoring happens. He's in charge of home and cooperation. Both home is an important department. Yeah. In one of the discussions, he was mentioning in a lighter vein that his experience in a village where he was born and brought up, when cooperatives became active in that village, the rate of crime went down because people got involved into a lot of economic activities, and then the income increased. That means the other part, the home ministry at the district level, they will have lesser work if corporation ministry is active in that department. So this is, and he was telling about some anecdotal evidences of that. Earlier, the village, houses didn't have locks and all, but then theft happened. So then the locks came into being, doors came in.
Yeah.
But when cooperatives became active, it was the reversal
Locks
of
went
that.
back.
Went back. So that, and then this, in many of the district, states, when he visits, he will tell about his experience and force those states which are not active in cooperative, tell that when he is reviewing the home secretary and maybe the SPs in those states, he will tell that no, you have to now work with cooperation department of the state. We are now activating them so that your work can be reduced. So that is the way in which he is trying to push. So now, based on that, now whatever whatever we are doing the last 2 years in cooperative, we are adding value to the policies which are given by the government, based on our experience as a grassroots level innovator in rural development. And that is where we are coming out with, we have already established this Sarkar Sarathi initiative, which is a global capabilities in credit cooperative, mostly on the credit cooperatives which we have launched, and launching of Sahakar Sarathi also happened yesterday. So that will be one of the priorities which we will want to take it to the next level. Maybe in another 1 year, we want to have a disruptive intervention in the rural prosperity.
Yeah.
Positive by disruptive intervention, it can be both negative and positive, but I meant positive intervention, which will actually, now government of India is coming out with the rural prosperity, rural resilience program, which is which is from the rural development department. Now, we want to converge it through the cooperatives, and it have to make it really beneficial for member-driven institutions where welfare will remain, and the resilience and prosperity which you are talking about will happen because will happen through cooperatives. Once it happens, then the augmentation of the growth rate will be faster. So that is one area which priority which we will have. And then, as I said earlier, transforming this self-help group into women cooperatives.
Yes.
And we have seen a potential of around 30,000 such groups across the country. It should come in. That, and then they will be digitized properly. So right now, their data also is in a very dispersed manner. It is available. So over and above this, a data layer will be coming in. So we are talking about artificial intelligence these days, but the basis of that is that we need to have data. Without data, artificial intelligence will not have any meaning.
Correct.
So now with this computerization happening, we are getting close to around 13 crore member data from the primary agriculture credit societies. So that data need to be warehoused properly.
Correct.
So we are coming out with a data warehouse for cooperatives where all this data will be stored in a way that it can be accessed by any entity. So this will be developed as a digital public good.
Yeah.
So by this means, any private entity coming in and setting up this data warehouse would have incurred a lot of cost, which they will try to try to even it out through some costing, or rather providing, actually charging for any of the use cases. So with a sovereign entity like NABARD getting involved, I think cost of providing such services will be reduced, and we will actually intend, or rather ask those entities which are working on this data to pass on this cost benefit to the end user, so that the rural people can access or benefit at a mature stage where data is now increasingly being available from the
Yes.
cooperative and the rural sector. Rural sector is having deficiency of data, though no, data exists, it exists in papers and maybe in Excel sheets and such other things. So we will be warehousing the rural sector data, cooperative sector data, and now we are at a stage where we can showcase this data to the tech companies, fintech or agri-tech or rural tech, climate tech, all these use cases will be there. We are also when as we build this data lake, it is a climate resilient data lake also. We have partnered with many entities, national and international, including the UNDP, to develop a data in climate resilient agriculture, which is a climate data warehouse, which will be integrated with these data warehouse which I am talking about. And then we'll invite, as a first step, this Earth Summit is there. We'll be intending this to, making it an annual event. Maybe more regional events, smaller events also may happen next year onwards, a national and culminating in the national event. And then we'll have, we'll also engage with global players in this field, so that the best of the technology should come in this sector, the AI, ML modeling, all these things. So if we are not doing this, then a private entity will be doing in a dispersed manner, but it will be costlier also. And it will be another case for extracting welfare from the rural area. So we want to prevent that. So we want to democratize AI and ML activities in rural areas by showcasing this as a digital public good. And that will be one of the priorities of NABARD. And that is a huge priority which we need to have. And then related to that is the climate resilience programs. We are coming out with taxonomy. We are actually coming out with green taxonomy for agriculture sector, which at the national level, sector-specific green taxonomies are being evolved by the Government of India. We are partnering with the Department of Economic Affairs for that. So as a corollary to that, we are now working for building climate database plus a green lending facility we are having. Then impact funds we have set up where we will build capacities in rural economies for climate resilience, and followed up with some impact fund also, where reduction of the cost of accessing credit will also be there. So this will be another priority which we have. So going forward, we want to push this rural area into the growth movement which is happening elsewhere in the world or within, and we want to make it cost effective. But for that, NABARD only can be the entity to do that. So that will be the way forward. Maybe in the next 2 years, it will be very, very hectic for NABARD in these activities, and that will actually define the real rural prosperity and resilience for the country.
Fascinating how data, its availability and its archiving and channelizing, a simple, well, it's not so simple, of course, it's so massive, can have so many ripple effects, like, from empowering these communities to climate sustainability to agricultural planning and so much more in the future. So and that you are going to be doing it over the next 3-4 years is even more promising, because artificial intelligence is taking over our lives and our daily functioning before we can even blink. So
the problem here is that without adequate data, if AI is getting implemented in rural areas, it will come out with some solution which will be funny. And if somebody believes in the solution, go in that direction, they'll go every. It will be difficult for them. So now this is right time that one probability is that without data, some funny solutions will come, which may not be optimum solutions, or with adequate data coming in, with democratizing that also, cost of AI implementation will be reduced, and they also will come up, because we are in the early stages of AI ML. Now they are telling about quantum computing also. There are talks, because of course quantum computing is still in the labs, but it may disrupt again. Before artificial intelligence reach a certain level, it may get replaced by quantum computing, which will have, for all these things, data is the base. And urban India may have adequate data, but then if you are not doing this now, then rural India will be left out. There will be actually, there will be earlier we talked about digital divide, maybe AI divide or some sort of that. They will be absolutely out of this. And government, problem with the government getting, especially state governments, getting into data is very difficult now. But they are also now realizing, and that is where Government of India AgriStack, which is a digital public good in agriculture, where they are capturing data from the agriculture sector. But there, we actually are involved with that, and to actually give proper framework for AgriStack with credit layer plus other activities also. Uh, for example, a farmer. A farmer means a person who is doing agriculture and he's producing something. But then his personal information is available in terms of Aadhaar. But whether he's linked to agriculture, there is no digital means of link. So that is one area where where he owns the land or he may rent land. He is a lease farmer. So that also need to be digitized. Unless we do that, so there is a farm layer, there is a land layer which is coming in, and then there is a crop, which crop he is growing. That right now, whatever agricultural loan schemes which we have at the branch level, because I myself was a commercial banker handling a loan, agricultural loan. There, once we do give a loan, appraise a loan, it's all at the last stage, at the cutting edge level, it is only a declaration that he is growing this crop. So that is a document upon which a loan officer is giving a loan. So it is there itself, the data is lost.
Yeah.
So therefore, capturing that, we need to have some sort of high-end activities like remote sensing and such other things, which now through AgriStack, which is coming.
Right, right. No, of course, and most importantly, data needs vision. You can keep aggregating data, you can keep collecting data, but how to channelize it? And what you were saying earlier about there being so much data, and if it's not tapped into, well, the potential exists, and if NABARD and the government of India doesn't tap into it, there will be at some point private companies which will tap into it, and there will be profiteering, which we see happening in so many other sectors, and also there's a security angle. So data, of course, should be gathered and kept in safe hands and utilized rather than used. So I think there is a very nuanced difference between the two, and NABARD is doing that, precisely that, utilizing the data for the benefit of the farmers, for the rural economy. Also, sir, talking to you, I'm realizing that till now, even though majority of Indians, the population is involved, engaged in the rural economy, the engine of India's economy invariably comes from urban India and the industrial economy. So the in terms of, not in terms of volume, but in terms of value. So that I think is lopsided, and it is going to turn towards the rural economy. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see that happening?
So I feel, engine, you said engine of Indian economy is urban. That's what you stated.
Yes.
But that urban includes people who have migrated from rural areas.
Exactly. Yeah.
So why they migrated? And it is actually, it's actually killing the cities. You see that in terms of air quality, the pollution which is coming, the mobility getting affected and all. So in that context, whatever we are doing now will stop that. And then whatever real economic activity which is happening, it can happen at the place of residence of these people itself. So that is where the transformation of agriculture into agribusiness. That is one of the statements in the previous budget by the Honorable Finance Minister. So she told about transforming agriculture to agribusiness. That includes processing activities coming in. So now, if you see the Indian economy or the composition of GDP growth, it's services sector-led growth. This can take the economy to a certain level only. Beyond that, actual production, real sector economy should come in. Service sector economy, of course, it will started that in 2012, 2013, and then we experimented with that. And Government of India now scaled up into 10,000 FPO program, but scaling up was a little faster with the adequate capacity not built into this organization, because these are all organic growth which need to happen. So we need to parallelly build capacities to handle these things. So that is where the CEOs of the farm produce organization, they should be properly trained. They should handle a business. It's actually a CEO of a private company handling an agro-business entity at the grassroots level. Without adequate training, he will look to always to government for support in terms of grants and all, which by definition itself is not sustainable. So now we are as a as a part of that, if you see the original, 1904 when cooperatives started, formalized into cooperative societies, they are the original farm producer organizations. But then over a time, because of various reasons, lack of even including lack of administrative empathy, they would have not developed in that direction. So now we are reinventing these societies as farm producer organizations. Now at the apt time, the realization came at the Government of India level that this is the right time to reinvigorate this cooperative movement as a parallel to FPO movement. So FPO movement will stay, but then cooperative movement will take up these production activities. And these are all essentially MSME activities. And NABARD also is now trying to support this into, we have developed sort of policies for accentuating this growth. We, in fact, set up a specialized department. Earlier, it was an off-farm sector department. Now it has been focused on SME, so we call it as Rural MSME Department. And if you see the balance sheet also of NABARD, almost 60-65% of the balance sheet is meant for SME support. It's not agriculture. By name, we recognize ourselves as National Bank for Agriculture. But then we are now becoming a national bank for SME, agro SME, of course.
Sure.
And then we also realize that rural development can happen by increasing the production activities at the rural level, and that too happening through agro business. And then the urban-led development, which you have told, will be gradually transforming into semi-urban-led development and then rural-led development. And when that happens, yesterday also Minister was telling about equity in growth, real growth, the fruits of India's growth will be reaching to the rural areas through such activities. Right. If you see the per capita income divide, which is there in the urban-rural divide, 60% of the population may cater to around 30-35% of the GDP, whereas remaining 40% cater to the double of that, or rather close to around 70% of GDP. That itself means that the per capita income of urban India is 3 times that of rural India. So that divide needs to be bridged. And once you bridge the divide, pressure on cities also will thin. Will reduce. And that is where Government of India now is coming out with having some cities also, around the existing cities, smaller cities around that. They're also planning, which will be manufacturing hubs of that. So in that direction also planning happens. Right. So future, it will be a semi-urban led development or rural-led development to reduce the pressure on the cities. Right. Which will overall improve the quality of life in India.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. And that note, better lives for everyone, rural, urban, all of us, and empowering rural economies. We bring this session to an end. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Nice talk.